These videos were shot and first went live in 2021 to 2023 as a part of Designer Shala's podcast, The Creative Hour on Instagram, where we interviewed unique designers and creatives on their journey in design. This is an effort to preserve those talks and help future designers and aspirants to understand design better. The views, opinions, and experiences shared in the Creative Hour podcast are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Designer Shala. Designer Shala holds no accountability or responsibility for any statements, claims, or perspectives expressed during the podcast. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, most people don't know about it. I don't talk about it much because it's like I finished my BMM in 2006, and fashion is something that I loved always. And then I happened to see a few of these international content creators who I thought I was like mind blown by them. That's how I kind of started. It was very random. I didn't know it could be monetized. I was never able to gather any kind of mass following.
Hello. I'm so excited to welcome each one of you to the Creative Hour at Designer Shala. We are kicking off this series on fashion conversations in the design industry. We're getting leading design experts to come talk about their journeys and upcoming design experts to come talk about their journeys in the fashion and design industry in the country and internationally, of course, in an effort to make sure that bridge is created and that gap is filled for design aspirants and design lovers, and they get actual stories of fashion entrepreneurs, fashion designers, stylists, designers in different fields, and understand what is it like to be a part of this design industry and what does it feel like to actually be on the other side.
Hi,
Shivangi, how are you?
I am very well. How are you, Sonal?
I'm good. Lots of work going on.
I'm
all
sure.
good. Yeah. With the festive season coming up, especially, there's like a lot of campaigns lined up and a lot of festive content that I've planned. So yeah, just struggling to put everything together.
You're nailing it on Reels, by the way. I keep seeing your Reels and they're so amazing. Love it, love it, love it.
So much.
Pleasure is all mine. It's so amazing to see, literally you have like a very fresh sort of an energy when you're styling your looks. It's very Sonal. It's very, very you. And,
thank you. That's all that I strive to do, just try to do stuff that I like my way rather than picking up from other people and copying other people's stuff, because
absolutely.
It's only when you create stuff that you personally like and relate with and actually wear is when it sort of connects with others as well.
Absolutely. Originality, I think, is one of the most important things. Being a creative person, you need to be original and authentic to yourself. And I remember when we had met the first time, this was, I think, about 5 years or so ago.
Yeah.
And I remember, Rayan actually telling me about you and telling me that, you have these really crazy, innovative ideas. And you'd, I think, done a photo shoot inspired by Draupadi.
Yeah. In fact, that was one of my first, sort of conceptual pieces.
Correct.
And after that, I went on to do, I think, 6 or 7 different mythology-inspired content pieces.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely. And each one was better than the previous one. And I think what stood apart was the fact that there was so much thought that went into, your content creation and your sort of conceptualization of every sort of blog that you came up with. At a time, at a phase on social media where, every fashion influencer was just busy wearing whatever came their way and just promoting brands left, right, and center. You came with this sort of fresh breath of air where you just wanted to do content that you believed in.
Correct.
And if a brand resonates, good for you. If you don't resonate with my vibe, never mind. I'm going to go buy my own clothes and do it nonetheless. I think that is incredible.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. So tell us a little about how you started with fashion content creation to begin with. You did your BBM, if I'm not wrong.
I did my BMM, Bachelor of Mass Media. Yeah. Okay. So I finished my BMM I graduated in 2006, and after that I did a lot of things. So for 4 years I was working. I worked in a production house. So my journey, I'm like a proper Sagittarius, I'm a Sagittarius Capricorn cusp, okay? So I'm like the most confused person when I have to be confused, and I'm like the most sorted out person when I have to be sorted out. So unfortunately, career moves and career choices, I've been like super confused. I've been a proper Sagittarius in that sense. So well, I wanted to initially do films. So I started off with working in a production house as a director's assistant, and I couldn't really continue too long in the production house because they were like my family was really worried that I used to work very late and things like that. So then I got a job in PR, and I worked in PR for about a year. After which I decided to get into advertising properly. So I wanted to get into planning, strat planning. So I started working with an advertising agency called Contract Advertising. I was in their strategic planning division for about a year and a half. After which I decided to do my masters. So I thought, okay, fine. Now let's take the next leap and go follow a niche. And fashion is something that I loved always. So I thought, okay, why not, actually try and create a career out of this. And again, luxury management at that time was a very new thing. People didn't really know about it. And in fact, in India itself, there were like 2 or 3 fashion colleges. There weren't even too many fashion institutes at that time. And luxury management was a course that was just probably in 2 or 3 universities globally. So I applied to Polymoda in Florence, got through, and my dad was pretty supportive in that. He was like, okay, fine, this is studies, so that you can do. Go anywhere, do whatever. so yeah, so I went to Florence. I did my master's in luxury brand management, and I did an internship in Ferragamo in Florence for about 3 months, which was a very, really nice experience.
I'm
And
sure.
then
One of my favorite brands.
yeah. and in the headquarters, like in their head office in Florence. So it was really awesome.
Amazing.
And then once I got back, I kind of realized that at that point of time, the Indian market wasn't really ready for. I mean, there weren't that many luxury brands coming in. It was still, very like even Zara was considered like a really big thing at that point of time. So and most of the marketing was very just adaptation of what was happening globally. There wasn't any innovation happening in India. So I kind of went back to a similar profile like my previous profile, so which is
Which was
a advertising marketing consultancy.
Yeah.
Did that for another 4 years or so, and then I kind of stumped. Like I used to have an Instagram account which was like a very random account where I used to post all personal stuff and travel pictures and stuff like that. And then I happened to see a few of these international content creators who I thought I was like mind blown by them. Like there was this one girl, Juliana Siriana, Sincerely Jules. I was like mind blown, and I looked at her page and I was like, okay, this is the kind of stuff I want to do. I like writing, I like fashion, and I like getting clicked. And what am I doing in marketing? Okay, like I'm going to do this. So that's how I kind of started. It was very random. It was not really within. I didn't even know that you could earn money out of it. I didn't know it could be monetized. It was just something that I just wanted to do, like purely out of interest in it. And I had a lot of stories to tell. I had like so many ideas that I wanted to pen down. So I started writing and I started shooting and started doing everything parallelly. I was also working at that time, so I was kind of trying to manage this together with it. Then I realized that okay, this can actually earn me money as well if I put in more work into it. And I was anyways having a much better time doing this than working yeah, in my what I was like as a marketing person. So I just completely shifted and started this full time.
Wow. Took you quite a long time and a lot of they were sort of all related. And I feel like when you look back, you feel that all those dots sort of connect, and
Connect, yeah.
and they must have helped you in some way or another, because whether you're
Absolutely.
working as like a strategist, or whether you're working
Yeah.
as marketing analyst, or whether you're working in advertising or production, all of those things, you must
Everything.
be using them today for your fashion blog and the content that you create.
In fact, there was this phase when I wanted to be an actor. So I used to actually go give auditions, and I've done cameos in the TV serials on Channel V and stuff like that. So
This I had no idea about.
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, most people don't know about it. I don't talk about it much because it's like really fun.
A lot of
It's
people
not
know about
actually-
it now.
But it was an exciting phase as well. I didn't continue because I mean there's just too much of patience that
Yeah.
becoming an actor takes, like to reach a certain level, and I don't think I had that kind of patience. So but I think even that really helped, like being in front of the camera, in front of a television set, it really helped.
Yeah.
I think today when I do my videos, when I do my pictures, all that also really helps me perform in front of the camera. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel like when you connect the dots, you see that every small little thing or big little thing that's happened has in some way aided and helped you. And that's so true, right? When I started a fashion blog along the same time that you did,
Yeah.
or maybe a year earlier, or I don't know,
Possibly.
somewhere around the same time. But, if I'm making reels or filming videos for YouTube, all of that helps, all of that helps so much, because I don't shy talking to a camera in public places. And I think these small little things are things we don't realize initially when we're doing it.
Absolutely.
But when we look back, we feel like, yeah, we've come a long way and it has helped
In fact,
for sure.
if we look at our own content, from the way we used to talk in
I
in the
dread
beginning. Yeah. So there were a couple
Absolutely. I
of-
mean, moving to videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a couple of YouTube videos that I did long back when I started blogging, and I just happened to go through them again a couple of years back, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, who is this? What is this? Why am I talking like that? I actually went on to delete them, like archive them. I was like, okay, this is not going to be there on this channel anymore.
No, I completely agree with you on that one, because I remember, for me, this happens very frequently on YouTube when somebody posts a comment on a video like 3 years back or 4 years back, and then when I'm responding to the video, right, I get to see the video, and when I hear my own voice and how chirpy and like sort of
Yeah.
pitchy I am, I'm like, am I the same person that I was like 4 years back? Like, I wouldn't have liked myself. Like, I wouldn't have followed myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and I think one of the best parts about social media is that you sort of evolve with your audience.
Yes.
And you mature with your audience. So the ones, especially the OGs, the ones who've been seeing you for 5 years, would have seen a lot of transformation in Sonal from back then and Sonal today.
Sorry. No, I was saying that in fact just yesterday, my pictures, there was this comment from somebody saying that, I used to follow you 1 year back, and then I lost my account and I went off Instagram, and I created a new account now, and I followed you again, and I am amazed to see how much you've grown in a year. And it just felt so nice that there's actually somebody who followed me since the beginning, and then for some reason, even if they had to go off, they came back, they still followed me back, and they are able to see that shift in my work. So yeah.
I think these small little things is what matters, People don't realize it when they leave lovely comments like that, but we're real humans behind the screens. We're super excited and happy every time we hear such happy things. But yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, in this evolution, I think, or this change, especially when you're growing with your audience, helps you also to sort of analyze yourself and your past work and understand what worked for you and what didn't. Because Instagram in general, I consider it like a place where you're documenting your entire life. It is a place where you're documenting your entire life. Like if I have to look back on pictures from like 4 years back, I might not find them on my phone, but I'll find them posted on Instagram. And my first resort is IG pe dala hoga, kahin to hoga. So
Correct.
definitely. But
Absolutely.
if you had
Even
to talk to
stories for that
Sonal,
matter.
absolutely correct, absolutely. But tell me something, Sonal. If you had to talk to Sonal from 5 years back and give her an advice or some advices on how she could grow, in this industry and how she could charge better, how she could work with better brands, what would be the advices that you would give Sonal from 5 years back?
Firstly, I would say, that so Sonal from 5 years back used to, like you said, create content which was really appealing to her, which she used to love, which was original, which was interesting. But it wasn't always very relatable. So what happened initially was that I was never able to gather any kind of mass following. Like I wasn't able to gather those numbers, and unfortunately, that numbers are what gets you the money and the work ultimately. The numbers and the kind of engagement that you can provide, because brands are looking for effectiveness at the end of the day. So the more number of people that interact with your content, the more number of people that see your content, that's how brand measures their effectiveness. So earlier, what used to happen is that because my content was more niche, was more, something that some people who resonated with that would love, but most people wouldn't even resonate with it.
Wouldn't
So
understand.
wouldn't
Correct.
understand it. Yeah. So
Correct.
I would say I would tell her to create content which was more relatable. Like today, I am able to. I have somehow in my mind, I feel I have cracked that thing. That balance between being original, being relatable, and creating content that I still love. So it's not like I'm compromising on the quality of content or on the kind of content that I like doing, but I've somewhere found a balance. I've somewhere spotted what also relates with people.
Right.
And a more number of people, not just a very small niche. Like today, when I do these sari videos or when I do these, sustainable videos of wearing one outfit multiple ways, my styling, I feel, is not, typically the kinds that nobody can wear, which we see, unfortunately, on Instagram by most
A lot.
influencers. And
A lot.
90% of those clothes I can't wear. I mean, I'd be like, okay, they look great, but I can't wear. So I
Yeah.
try and do my styling in a way that it's something that anybody can wear at any point, and yet it's interesting, yet it's fashionable. And I think that's what kind of has worked for me now compared to back then. Another thing I think is that I feel somewhere networking, like being able to connect with more PR people, more brands, more professionals in this space, and being able to network with them and talk to them and just generally have a conversation with them. That is something I used to lack completely in the beginning. Like I would actually feel ki, "Arey, it's okay, work will come." Work doesn't just come. You have to put yourself out there. You have to ask for work. You have to remind people that you exist, because it's a very competitive, cutthroat environment. There are so many bloggers, so many influencers, and everyone has good content. Everyone is doing really well. So it's about you. It's about being consistent. It's about being there. Reminding them that you're there, because otherwise you get out of sight, you get out of mind, work stops coming in. So Sonal back then would do zero networking. She wouldn't even talk to people. She would just believe that work will come. It doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. So you have to put yourself out there. Yeah, I think those are the two main things that I would tell her to, like,
Yeah.
yeah, put yourself out there. Don't just feel कि सब हो जाएगा. सब कुछ नहीं हो जाता. खुद से.
करना पड़ता है.
करना पड़ता है.
Absolutely. We're both in the same industry. We've both been associated in a similar space, and we've both. I'm not sure, but at some point, I guess all of us have been exploited in terms of the money that we make off social media, working with brands. What would be that one? I've been there. I've been on that side where I've been cheated and not paid my dues or been underpaid, and we've all sort of struggled. But if you had like one advice to give to that same Sonal from 5 years back, what would you tell her in terms of how to command your worth, how to actually charge your actual worth? And a lot of people who are following us or who are here are young fashion aspirants, fashion students who also want to have like their own fashion content hustle on the side, because they all feel that Instagram is so easily accessible and available, and with multiple social media platforms, everybody wants to become an influencer, but nobody knows how to crack that code of actually charging your worth. What is it that you would tell the Sonal from 5 years back, or these kids who are 18, 19, 20, just venturing into this industry?
I would say, so frankly, what I think needs to be done is you set your worth. What you think is what you want to charge for this particular piece of content. So, for example, if you're doing a video, let's say, depending on the amount of time and the amount of effort that you're putting into it, you think that, okay, I should be getting paid 15,000 for this particular piece of content. I think put it out there. When brands ask you, quote that amount. Because a lot of times what we do is we either underquote saying ki arey shit, brand chali jayegi. Or they come back to us and they tell us, oh, our budget is only 2,000, and we say, arey, opportunity mil rahi hai, chalo kar lete hain, kar liya. If you feel that you should be getting paid 15,000 for a certain piece of content, and samne se if the brand is telling you that we only have 2,000 ka budget, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, because then you're going to be unhappy doing that piece of campaign unless you see real value in it. I personally, even today, I do certain barters, and I don't tell anybody not to do barters if you feel that there is value in it. So for example, if so there are two things, like for me. One is, if it's a brand, like if it's a Reebok or an Adidas, or a brand which I feel can add value to either my profile, or by seeing that I will have other brands approaching me, like if it's a big enough brand, if it's a really prestigious brand, then I go for it, even at times doing barters, even though I know that those brands probably have really good budgets. But I'm like, ठीक है, मुझे कुछ value मिल रहा है वहाँ से. I know that I'm going to get some value out of it. I'm unable to crack the monetary value, but ठीक है, I'll get a brand value. The other case where I do barters is I do barters with a lot of startups and a lot of these sustainable brands and a lot of local small brands, because I feel that somewhere they don't have the money to pay you, but what you get from there is, at least for me, I the reason why I started blogging in the first place was because I wanted to support small startups, and I wanted to support sustainability and stuff like that. So somewhere I feel a sense of purpose. I feel like I've not completely lost that vision. So that's why I work with a lot of small entrepreneurs, even on barter, even at very small minimal cost. And there I don't look at money as the worth. I look at it more as something that I'm providing to the society. So,
Correct.
So that is some sort of emotional gratification that I'm getting. So if you're getting any campaign, if you're getting either emotional gratification or you're getting any kind of softer gratification, brand value out of it, and you think it's okay, go ahead. If there is a campaign, for example, if today there is a campaign for some kind of e-commerce platform like Big Basket or any kind of other, and if they give me a budget which is far less than what I think I'm worth, I will probably not take it up, because I don't see any other value coming out of it. I don't think that I'll be happy if I don't have enough monetary value coming out of it. I hope you're getting what I'm saying.
That makes absolute sense. I completely agree on that, especially the part where you're promoting smaller brands and smaller businesses.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the bandwidth or the capacity, but it's your bit it's giving back to your community, and like, you know, as they say, like, go vocal for local. So yeah, why not, right?
So for Sonal of that time, I would just say that, don't get desperate. Like, that is the one thing that I would tell her. Don't get desperate. Don't just go, doing anything and everything that's coming your way. If you feel that it's not giving you enough value. So evaluate in these, set yourself 2 or 3 things. Like, if there is emotional value, if there's any kind of brand value coming out of it, or if there's monetary value, or if there's some other benchmark for you that you feel कि नहीं अच्छा ये मिलेगा तो भी चलेगा. So set those benchmarks for yourself and see if the offer that you're getting or the campaign you're getting fits in any of those. If it doesn't, let it go. It's okay. There'll be other opportunities that will come your way. But just don't get desperate and do anything and everything that's coming your way, because that's when you start getting a little disoriented and disenchanted with the whole process and the whole industry in general.
Absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense. Another thing that I'd like to add, I think, is that this industry has a lot of sort of comparisons.
Yeah.
In terms of, and because it's a number game, as you truly said, if you don't have the following, you're not valued as much, even if you have good content, even if you're churning out good content. So just one thing, guys, like, even if, people are not paying you right now, eventually they will. But what matters is that you don't compare yourself or get bogged down by numbers, because they don't just happen overnight. Yeah.
And also maintain the quality of content that you're creating. So, I've seen a lot of cases where just because the numbers aren't growing, people have actually dropped the quality. They've stopped posting. They've, gone completely off the radar. So consistency is the biggest thing. I mean, I feel on social media, unfortunately, you have to keep creating content. The moment you go off, even let's say for a week, when you come back,
your engagement is
gone completely, and then you're almost like rebuilding. So just be consistent. Like, numbers can be very demotivating, but they don't have to be. It's about perspective. It's about how you take it. Like, honestly, I have grown so much only during these last 2 years, mainly during these last 2 years, during the pandemic years. And I frankly think the lockdown, everything has been great for me. Reels has been great for me. The reason why is because I had so much time, to think, to innovate, to create during this lockdown, that I managed to create so much content, being so consistent, which I could never do before. And I've seen the difference. I've seen the difference from when I was inconsistent to when I've been consistent. The difference is huge.
Correct. Absolutely. And we can see it as well, right? In terms of the numbers, in terms of the reach, in terms of the massive following that you've garnered, in terms of, people loving your styling and wearing your, styling, and just, it's incredibly amazing and so motivating, and consistency, I think, Sonal, is one of the best things about you. I absolutely admire that a lot personally. We may not talk or interact often, but I do know for a fact that whenever I'm talking to somebody about, Instagram in general, I'll always be mentioning your name. I'll be mentioning Samidha's name, because I know that you guys have been the queens of consistency on Instagram, and I've seen it in the last 1.5 years, the kind of effort that you've been putting, which I think is incredible. And and as I think a very famous person, I can't put the name on them, but somebody very famous once said that, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
And, motivation doesn't work. Consistency, even when you're not motivated, is what will get you success. So, yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of Sonals in the making from 5 years back who've been watching this live would benefit from it. But tell me one thing, today, wherever it is that you're at in your career, which I know is successful, you're happy, you have a place of your own, you have brands dying to work with you, you have campaigns coming in every single month, and you're creating content you love creating. Is there anything that you would like to change about where you are in your fashion career, or is it that you feel that okay, I feel like this is because you've changed your career path so many times. Do you
Yeah.
feel like now you've arrived at where you truly were meant to be? Like, have you found your ikigai or like your purpose?
So the thing is that I am very happy in the place where I am right now, but I don't think this is it. I think that I think it's just the kind of person I am. I always feel that what's next, what's more, what else can I do. So I don't know if you're aware, but I also launched a label of my own, House of Pink Peppercorn, which was just before the lockdown, and then the lockdown happened. So that is the one thing that kind of really suffered because of it. So I haven't picked it up again, but that also happened because of this whole thing of what next, what more, what else can I do. So even if I had to do this for the rest of my life, I would still be very happy, but
Yeah.
there is that need to kind of figure out what next, what more, how can I make this bigger, and that I'm still working on, that I haven't been able to answer.
Yeah, but will it be within fashion, or would
It
you
will
be?
be within. No, it will be within fashion for sure. Like fashion, I know is it's where I'm going to be. What
Okay.
within fashion, what more can I do, is the question. But definitely within fashion.
Nice, nice. That's so long we know that we're sticking to this industry and you're going to be around and hang around with us. I think we're happy.
Absolutely.
Awesome, amazing, Sonal. Thank you so much for being so honest about everything. Another thing that I absolutely love about you, at a time and age when everybody was sort of getting their hair blow dried and sort of ironing them
Yeah.
out and making them look straight, here was this fresh breath of, sort of curls coming in at every Lakme Fashion Week with like, curls shining through. And I was like, this is so amazing. I love that this girl's always in her curls and she never feels the need to sort of, straighten them because, the society wants it to be. And lots of things to love for sure.
But I'll actually let you in on a secret there. So when I was in college, I had actually straightened my hair out for 4 years straight.
Oh, wow.
Permanent straightening, like I used to get them rebonded and everything, and I ended up really ruining them, like and the thing is that with curly hair like mine, when you straighten them out, they come all half curly, half straight, and then you don't know what to do. So then you get caught in this entire rut of having to straighten them again and again.
Correct.
So I remember after almost 3 times of having them rebonded, I went to Sapna Bhavnani, and at that time Sapna Bhavnani was not like this really big celebrity.
Mad over.
Yeah, mad over.
What? Correct.
And I went to her and I told her I wanted purple hair color, and she looked at my hair and she was like, "Okay, come sit." And she chopped off my hair and I started crying. I was like, what have you done? You didn't even tell me, you just chopped off my hair. Listen, I can't give you purple hair color with half straight, half curly hair, I mean, I just can't do that. So now that I've chopped off all the straight hair, your hair is going to be curly. Grow it, let the curls flourish, and then we'll think of the color. I went home crying. I was like, what is
Did
this?
you not sue her or something?
No, because eventually I was happy about it, because that is what kind of
irrespective, without a client being told what you're doing with their hair, you can't just That's crazy. I would have sued her.
On hindsight, yeah, it was pretty crazy. I mean, but then, it worked out well. It all worked out well. From that day, I have never straightened my hair. From that day on. Like maybe I would have ironed it out once in a while for styling, for like a certain shoot or something, but I have never even thought of straightening my hair. I'm so happy with my curls.
I'm so happy because we get to see, and there's so many women out there who have curly hair just like you, and it gives them confidence to not want to straighten, because there was a time when curly hair was actually appreciated and sort of like people loved
Yeah.
it. Back in the day when my mom, young in her 20s, she has crazy curly hair and she says that, people used to dye to sort of get
Yeah.
her kind of hair, and they would go and get tongs, etc., just to have
Yeah.
curly hair. And then thanks to Bollywood and thanks to all of
Yeah.
these movies and, Shilpa Shetty going straight in, I think, Dhadkan, and all of
I
these
think
actresses.
everyone went straight. All the Bollywood beauties who had curly hair, Preeti Zinta, Pooja Bhatt,
Madhuri
everybody,
Dixit.
Madhuri Dixit, everyone went straight. And I mean, it's just so
It
sad.
was so much pressure, right? To feel that you need to have straight hair to look pretty. And again, the beauty standards in the glam industry sort of disappoint me every
Very
single time.
much.
But yeah, I'm just happy you stuck to your curly hair. You came back to them, which I think is brilliant. But
Yeah,
thank
thank you
you
so much.
so much, Sonal, for taking the time out today on a Friday evening and doing this with us. It's
Thank you
been
so
an
much for having
absolute pleasure.
me. Same here. Thank you so much for having me.